The Knicks stink. They absolutely stink. That was about as embarrassing as it gets last night. You had all 5 starters in minus numbers, double digits on defense. And it was a disgrace. And I'm telling you, this Kemba Walker thing, it ain't working. It's not working. And it's amazing to me that Emmanuel Quickly can't figure out how to play defense yet. I mean, you can't keep leaving the guy in the corner open. I mean, and you're trying to slough off, you're trying to help, and then a wide open 3 right over you. The guy's about, 2 or 3 inches taller than you. Forget which one it was. But, geez, I'm like, man, it's the same thing. And these guys are coming in here, like Ricky Rubio did it last week. These guys are coming in here just bombing away. And just
career highs.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the Knicks are standing there or sitting there on the bench like, with their masks on, all like, ooh, I'm like, we are so far from bing bong and that idiocy that the reality is now setting in that they looks like they've made the wrong choices on a couple of these guys here.
Yeah, free agent signings so far, the returns are not
scary.
good. They're not good. I mean, Kemba Walker looks like a guy who's in the latter part of his career that's hanging on to something. Now, all right, glass half full. Kemba Walker hasn't played in a while. You give him a couple more games, gets back into shape. Maybe he's better. You got something there. Glass half empty is that he's never going to be the same player again. And Kemba Walker's got a great attitude, the local angle of it. All that stuff is awesome, but he looks like somebody who's seen his best days already. And that's not who the Knicks wanted to bring in. Someone at the tail end of their career. They wanted Kemba Walker with 2 or 3 more years of him being an elite player, and they don't have that right now.
Two parts of your team that we all thought were going to be improved. One of them was the point guard situation because Kemba would be able to share it with Derrick Rose.
Yep.
And Derek is still doing what Derek did last year. I don't care what anybody. He creates open spaces. He takes shots.
It's their most productive player.
He is still playing at a very high level, although you can't ask him to go out there and spend more than 25 minutes on the court. You're asking for a disaster. You're asking for a season-ending injury if you're not careful. So that's why it was really important to get somebody in here that was going to be able to help handle the load, and whether it be Kemba Walker as the starter or maybe they reverse him. I don't know. But all I can tell you is that experiment is not working right now. And the point guards for the other team, even the shooting guards for the other team, they're the ones that are dictating play. And then, of course, when they play a big man, and I think that Mitchell Robinson's had his moments. He's coming back from the serious injury last year, and he's had his moments. But, I mean, Julius Randle is nowhere to be found.
Yeah, he's nothing like it was last year. A couple flashes here or there. It feels like there's still a lot of Julius Randle isolation. Like
way too much.
He feels like he needs to carry the team all the time, which is a problem. And Evan Fournier, by the way, too, has been really underwhelming.
I told you he was going to drive me crazy at the beginning.
Yeah, I know you did.
They're going to be games where he's going to be really good, and he's going to he'll be like 6 of 10 from three-point land, and he'll do what has been done to us here at home, nonetheless. I mean, their record at home is abysmal.
Yeah.
And in front of their fans who, were just absolutely giddy with what happened last year, and then the way that it started this year against the Boston Celtics and the way people reacted after that double overtime win was amazing. And now all of a sudden, everybody's settling in. And Thibodeau's right. He is absolutely 100% right to go after his starting 5. They were horrendous last night, and it is about as bad as performances we've seen from this group anyway in the year and 10 games that they've been here, or 9 games that they've been here, whatever it is.
Yeah, if you look at the plus-minus numbers with the starters last night, they were all minus 20. It was just pathetic. Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier, would they have 2 points apiece? They were just brutal. The only time they ever did anything last night is that the second unit was on the floor and Derrick Rose was out there going crazy. I mean, that was really the only time that they were effective.
What did you think about the replay on Giannis on Toppin?
I thought that was the right call. Actually, I did.
Yeah, it's a weird replay. Isn't it? I mean, the guy called a foul. Call a foul.
Right. No, I know. Well. These replays in the NBA now are stopping. So this is what's so ironic about the NBA and these calls. It feels like they tried to limit the foul calls to keep the game moving because there was too many stoppages. But I feel like now when I watch games, there's a million replays that stop the game longer than any of these other foul calls, these ticky-tack foul calls. So you get whether that it's a flagrant this or let's go back and review this and let's challenge that. And they take longer than the NFL does on these replays.
They should take 2 timeouts away from each team.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
No, of course, that too.
Play and let's go. But I don't know. I feel like I'm disgruntled this morning.
You should
be.
You
You know what? And I'm taking my key from the coach. That's where I'm getting all this from. And you know, I admire him. I like him as a coach. I thought that he had his guys playing for him last year, and now all of a sudden, man, I don't know. A couple guys got paid. A couple guys come home. There's a reason why Fournier and Kemba Walker were let go by the Celtics, and then of course Kemba was let go by OKC. There's a reason for those things, and it's unfortunate because Kemba was a great player at one time. We all were at one time when we were young. And then as we get older, there's an obvious drop-off. And the shooting's been bad. The ball handling's been bad. It's just...
Defense has been bad, which is the biggest problem.
Right, and the defense has been bad because this team, the best way to put it is they were lunch pail guys.
They were last year.
They were everyday men.
They were everyday men last year. And now they're not. Now they're trying to conform to the rest of the NBA, and they haven't done a good job at it.
And I guess they're just not great shooters, man. I mean, it's amazing how these teams come in here. You're not supposed to shoot this good at the away building.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be your building. You're supposed to know the rim. You're supposed to know the atmosphere, the environment, and feed off of your fans who are dying for you to play hard. Just dying for you to play hard. And this is like what you get? Well, now, I know Milwaukee's one of the better teams, but my God. I mean, and look, let's face it. Thibodeau made a statement last night. Get your ass on the bench. You don't want to play? Then sit down.
Yeah, I mean, and basically called the fact that the team hasn't been cohesive, at least with the starters, a bunch of bull bleep after the game. He said, some people say it takes 20 games. Some people say, then you say 30, then you say 40. All of it's a bunch of bull bleep. And he's right about it. It should not take this long. And,
I mean, to be fair.
Yeah.
I do believe when you add, 2 guys to the starting 5, it's going to take a while to play off of each other and understand that, especially, and there are moments where they have looked really good. But, I say the same thing about the hockey team. New coach, you got to get 20 games under your belt to see what the hell you got here. It's the same thing. It's like you're adding 2 guys. I don't know if how they're playing off of one another. They know that. I mean, and obviously yesterday the effort, and that's the thing that's really disappointing because one of the reasons why I think we all loved the team last year was because of the effort, and especially on the defensive side of the ball. Like their goal was to keep everybody under 100 points.
You felt like they did that almost every night.
Right, and now all of a sudden it's not happening, and it's bad. I mean, it started night 1 against Boston, and that went into double overtime when it should have never went into overtime. But the mishandling of the ball late in the game, about 4 or 5 times under 3 minutes, ended up allowing the Celtics to tie the game. But man, that last night was about as disappointing as it gets.
Yeah, and I wonder now can the flaws that we've seen so far be fixed by this group? I mean, that's the question. Are they going to be just a 500 team that shows us this same type of stuff at the point of the trade deadline, and then they're going to have to go out there and shake up the roster? Or can Tom Thibodeau be the coach of the year and then fix this group to get them to play the way they did last year with more shooting, which was the goal in the beginning of the year?
Is there I don't know this, maybe you would know this because I'm not really paying attention to who may be available and who may not be available. But is
John Wall's available? You want John Wall?
Is there a 25-year-old point guard that actually knows how to play the game and will play defense?
That's available in midseason?
Is there anybody like that?
Well,
this has always been a reoccurring problem for this team. Reoccurring. I mean, it's a nightmare.
Yeah,
and it's been a nightmare position. Now, I want to preface this by saying that Derrick Rose has been perfect off the bench. It's a perfect role for him.
Yeah.
He's the guy off the bench. He's the guy that's got the experience. He's still explosive too, by the way. You could see it. He still has it. But their starting point guard situation around here has been horrific. Horrific.
Well, let me give you the John Wall situation. John Wall has decided that he is not going to play for the Rockets any longer. That's it. Doesn't want to play. The Rockets would like to trade him. They can't trade him, so he is a DNP, organizational decision, every single night. Now, he was one of the most explosive young point guards in basketball. He had an Achilles injury. He had knee injuries. He is someone now that is not the same player, but he still could be a good player for somebody, productive player for somebody. However, over the next 2 years, he is owed $92 million for 2 years.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is because you got it. All right, so if you brought him in now, he'd play this year and he'd play half of next year, assuming he wanted to play. And
he's got a player option next year. He's picking up.
Yeah, okay. So assuming that he's actually willing to play, wants to play, I don't know. Is he just a younger version of Kemba who has got all these injuries and he's just not right yet? That's up to Steve Perry and Worldwide Wes and
Scott Perry, Steve Perry.
Steve Perry. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know what kind of situation.
I think it's a little early for us to be shaking up the roster. I still think it's a little early. They're 7-5. Last year they had a word. I think after 11 games last year they were 5-6. Well, let's remember that they are 7-5.
But we're coming off of a team that made it to the playoffs but got housed in the playoffs, and I see a lot of the remnants of that team that played in the playoffs. Now, they won at Milwaukee, great. They lost at home to Charlotte. They lost at home to Cleveland, who was missing two, and they were missing two of their better players.
The Raptors.
Lost at home to the Raptors, Orlando, teams that are younger, more athletic, and faster.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they lost to the Bucks after beating the Bucks out in Milwaukee last week, which was a really nice win. And they beat the Sixers, who were, of course, undermanned without Harris and without Embiid. So I don't know what to tell you. It's like pulling teeth. And it shouldn't be like this.
Yeah, it should not be like this, especially at Madison Square Garden, and certainly watching guys just can threes every time they need it. An opponent, every time there's a wide open three that they're hitting, the Knicks cut the lead to 3, and then all of a sudden, bang, there it is. It's back up to 6, and then another one, and it's 9.
And it's usually a wide open three, too, by the way. That's the problem. So they get helter-skelter on defense. And again, there must have been, I want to say, I should have wrote them down, but I don't like write things down during games.
Yeah.
Some other people around here do that, but I don't. There had to be 3 or 4 instances within the last 6 or 7 minutes where the Bucks were just draining it from the left-hand corner, and Quickly was over there, and he didn't know whether or not to help, or slough and help, or stay with his man. And I'm like, how about you just stay with your man? Let them have it 2 then. We'll trade 3 for 2s then.
Yeah.
But just don't let the guy open.
Now, I know you're big on the baseball 13-game stretch. Where are you in basketball? You like a 4-game stretch?
I'm a 10-game stretch guy.
You're a 10-game stretch guy.
Definitely a 10-game stretch guy.
All right, a 10-game stretch guy. You got Hornets, Pacers, Magic, Rockets, Bulls, Lakers, Suns. Wow, listen to this stretch.
Yeah.
Bulls, Lakers, Suns, Hawks, Nets, Bulls, Nuggets. That's not an easy stretch.
And that's why losing games to teams that you should be better than, and you should be more physical than, and you should be able to defend against, losing those games in your building are killers. They're killers.
They're a 500 team.
We have to basically amplify what the coach is saying.
Yeah. Absolutely.
The coach is saying this.
And Derrick Rose amplified it, too. He said basically they come out, they don't take it to the other team, they try to get a feel for the game, they're lackadaisical. Stuff can't happen.
You know what I do then? I just maybe for a couple games, let Derrick Rose start as your point guard. And, Kemba, you're going to sit, you're going to play 18 minutes.
Might not have a choice.
You may not have a choice.
Yeah. He's been that bad, which is unfortunate. Sort of been kind of quiet under the radar at this point because everybody wants Kemba to succeed, but it's a problem.
He had a good game a couple weeks ago. Which game was? I forget which game it was.
But you can't just have one good game occasionally.
You can't.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the red bell so you're notified when we have new content.